Welcome back to my YouTube channel LC Coins World, where history lives in your hands through the coins we carry and collect today. We explore one of the most iconic pieces of American pocket change, the 1969 Washington quarter dollar coin that has quietly traveled through decades of U.S. history and holds far more significance than meets the eye. The 1969 Washington quarter is part of a series that began in 1932 to honor the 200th birthday of George Washington, the first president of the United States. The original design was created by sculptor John Flanagan and has become one of the longest-running designs in U.S. coinage history. His profile of Washington facing left with the word "Liberty" above and the national motto "In God We Trust" on the obverse has remained a cultural and patriotic symbol throughout generations. The reverse design originally featured an eagle with spread wings clutching arrows above olive branches, representing both military strength and peace. This design was deeply rooted in the nation's founding principles. By 1969, the quarter had already seen over 3 decades of minting, and the nation itself was undergoing massive change. The 60s were a time of social upheaval, political movements, and economic shifts, and the coins in circulation reflected those transitions in subtle yet meaningful ways. 1969 marked 1 year after the end of silver quarters, which stopped being produced for circulation in 1964. Following the Coinage Act of 1965, the act removed silver from dimes and quarters to preserve the nation's silver reserves and introduced clad coinage, a layered composition of copper and nickel. The 1969 Washington quarter is composed of outer layers of 75% copper and 25% nickel bonded to a pure copper core. This shift to clad coins was a turning point in U.S. coinage and signified a move into the modern era. The 1969 quarters were struck at 2 major U.S. mints, the Philadelphia Mint and the Denver Mint. Those struck at the Denver Mint carry the small d mint mark on the obverse side just to the right of Washington's ponytail. The Philadelphia issues bear no mint mark. Both types are common in circulation, but finding high-grade examples in mint state condition, especially Ms. 65 or higher, has become increasingly rare due to the heavy usage these coins received over time. What makes the 1969 Washington quarter even more intriguing is the range of errors and varieties that have been discovered by collectors over the decades. Some examples feature double dies on the obverse, where elements like the date or the word "Liberty" appear slightly doubled under magnification. These double die errors can be extremely valuable, especially in higher grades, and with strong doubling. Other errors, such as off-center strikes, clipped planchets, or die cracks, are also sought after and can greatly increase a coin's value depending on severity and clarity. From a numismatic standpoint, the 1969 quarter represents more than just 25 cents. It tells a story of a transitional era in U.S. monetary history. It was minted during the Vietnam War era under the presidency of Richard Nixon, and during a time when Americans were increasingly aware of the economic changes happening around them. Inflation was becoming a national concern, and the buying power of a quarter was very different from what it had been even a decade prior. This little coin was part of every American's daily experience, from vending machines to parking meters to phone booths. It had a presence in every pocket and every purse. In the collector market today, most circulated 1969 quarters have only face value, but as mentioned earlier, those in uncirculated condition, especially from original mint sets or proof sets, can command premium prices. Collectors seek quarters that retain their original luster, have minimal contact marks, and exhibit sharp detail. These are often submitted to grading services like PCGs and NGC for authentication and encapsulation. The coin's value can jump significantly with a high-grade certification and any presence of rare errors. One interesting aspect of this coin is its place in the broader timeline of U.S. coinage. By the end of the 1960s, America was already looking ahead to new designs and commemoratives, but the Washington quarter remained a constant presence through the bicentennial era and beyond until 1999, when the state quarters program began. The 1969 issue stands as a bridge between the silver coinage of the past and the modern thematic coinage of the 21st century. It holds a special place in the hearts of those who lived through the 60s and 70s, as well as in the albums of collectors who understand its context and rarity. To fully appreciate the 1969 Washington quarter is to look beyond its face value and into its role in everyday life, in the stories it silently witnessed, and in the historical legacy it continues to carry for numismatists, history buffs and casual collectors alike. This coin offers an invitation to connect with the past through something small, tangible, and profoundly American. So as we dive deeper into this incredible coin throughout the video, we will explore everything from its minting process and metal composition to real auction records, errors, and collector demand. We'll look at how the 1969 quarter fits into U.S. history both economically and culturally, and why it still matters today, over 50 years later. This journey is about more than money. It's about meaning. Stay with us here on LC Coins World as we uncover the story of the 1969 Washington quarter dollar and rediscover why this little coin deserves a big place in history, where we explore the fascinating stories hidden behind every coin. Today, we take a journey deep into the history, numismatic significance, and collector's value of the 1972 Roosevelt Dime. Brilliant, uncirculated, and struck at the Denver Mint, this 10-cent coin is far more than a piece of everyday change. It represents a critical moment in American history, a continuation of a legacy and a reflection of evolving minting techniques that defined a generation of American coinage. The Roosevelt dime was first introduced in 1946, following the death of President Franklin Delano Roosevelt, who had led the nation through the Great Depression and most of World War II. The coin was not only a tribute to his leadership, but also a symbol of the progress and modernization that defined post-war America. By the time the 1972 version was released, the dime had already become a common fixture in American commerce. But what makes this year and minting so intriguing is the context in which it was produced and how its condition, rarity, and mint errors influence its place in the world of coin collecting today. In 1972, the United States Mint continued producing copper nickel-clad dimes with no silver content. The country was experiencing political change, economic tension, and the tail end of the Vietnam War. Coin production was a vital part of federal operations, with billions of coins being minted annually, yet not all dimes were created equal. Coins from the Denver Mint that year were known for their sharp details and clean strikes, especially those that remained in brilliant, uncirculated condition untouched by circulation and preserved in mint state. The D Mint mark on this coin signifies it was struck at the Denver Mint, one of the most productive and historically important branches of the United States Mint. Since its founding, the Denver Mint has maintained a reputation for producing coins of high precision and clarity. Coins like the 1972 Roosevelt Dime in mint state are prized by collectors for their luster, strike quality, and potential for high-grade certification from numismatic grading authorities such as PCGs and NGC. When evaluating a 1972 Roosevelt Dime, collectors pay close attention to the coin strike, surface preservation, and absence of contact marks. Coins graded Ms. 65 and higher are increasingly difficult to find, especially with full torch or full band details on the reverse, which signify a well-struck coin. With all horizontal bands on the torch fully separated and visible, these full band designations increase value significantly and represent the upper echelon of quality. For clad Roosevelt dimes from the early 1970s, historically, the Roosevelt dime represents the final transition from silver coinage to clad compositions, and while many circulated examples exist, high-grade specimens from 1972 are less common due to the nature of mass production and handling by banks and the public. Most of these dimes entered circulation rapidly, with few being handling by banks and the public. Most of these dimes entered circulation rapidly, with few being saved in mint condition, and even fewer achieving top grades at third-party grading services. This video will walk through the full historical background of the Roosevelt Dime series, its design by chief engraver John R. Sinek, the coin's role in post-war American culture, and how coins like the 1972 D play into the broader world of clad-era coin collecting. We will look at auction records, price trends, grading tips, and even discuss common mint errors found on this year, including off-center strikes, die clashes, and missing clad layers that have commanded premium prices among collectors. By the end of this journey, you will understand what makes the 1972 D Roosevelt Dime more than just a 10-cent piece. You will see how it embodies a moment in American minting history and why owning one, especially in brilliant uncirculated mint state condition, is a matter of pride and passion for seasoned collectors and history enthusiasts alike. Whether you are holding a piece passed down through generations or just picked it up at a coin show, this dime has a story to tell, and that story begins here at LC Coins World, where every coin tells a story and every detail unlocks a forgotten chapter of our shared history. Today, we take a deep and focused journey into the remarkable legacy of the 1965 Roosevelt Dime, a coin that emerged not just from the presses of the United States Mint, but from the crossroads of an era that reshaped modern American currency forever. To understand the full historical significance of the 1965 Roosevelt Dime, we must first travel back to the early post-World War II period when America was rebuilding its global position, emerging as a superpower, and undergoing unprecedented economic and cultural changes. The Roosevelt Dime was introduced in 1946 to honor the memory of President Franklin Delano Roosevelt, who had led the nation through the Great Depression and most of World War II. His image replaced the winged Liberty Head dime known as the Mercury Dime, which had circulated since 1916. But something extraordinary happened in 1965. And it was not just about design or symbolism. It was about composition policy, trust, and a complete transformation in the way Americans viewed their coinage up until 1964. The dime, along with quarters and half dollars, were made of 90% silver, a standard that had been in place for decades. However, as the price of silver rose and hoarding increased, the federal government faced a monetary crisis that could no longer be ignored. In response to this crisis, Congress passed the Coinage Act of 1965, a law that marked the end of circulating silver coinage in the United States. Starting that year, all dimes, quarters, and eventually half dollars would be minted using a copper core clad in an alloy of copper and nickel. What followed was a sea change in American numismatics, and at the center of that transition stood the 1965 Roosevelt Dime. This coin was more than just pocket change. It was the first of its kind, the physical manifestation of a new monetary strategy and economic necessity. Its composition was now clad not silver, its weight and appearance slightly altered, its value in metal reduced, and its historical place forever marked by the turning tides of fiscal reform. Collectors, investors, and everyday Americans quickly took notice. Many began to save the last silver dimes of 1964. Let's examine the new dimes of 1965 to see how they differed, or if any rare transition errors occurred. And indeed, there are known examples of 1965 dimes accidentally struck on silver planchets intended for the previous year. These mint errors have become highly prized and valuable finds. But beyond the errors and metal content lies the story of a coin that had to carry on tradition while serving a new purpose. The Roosevelt Dime retained its familiar obverse design featuring the dignified profile of President Roosevelt facing left, sculpted by John R. Sinek. The reverse remained the same as well, with the olive branch torch, an oak branch symbolizing peace, liberty, and strength respectively. This continuity in design helped reassure the public during a time of change and maintain the visual identity of the American dime, even as its substance shifted beneath the surface. The 1965 Roosevelt Dime was minted in enormous quantities, over 1.6 billion examples were struck at the Philadelphia Mint alone, and for the first time in modern American minting, no mint mark was placed on coins produced in Philadelphia. This decision made identifying certain minting errors more challenging, but also created a uniform appearance for the new clad coinage, which was crucial for acceptance among the public. This episode in coinage history also coincided with broader cultural and economic shifts across America. The mid-60s were a period of civil rights movements, space exploration, the Vietnam War, and the early waves of inflation, all of which shaped public attitudes toward the economy and the value of money. The change in coinage was not just a technical event, it was a mirror reflecting the changing face of the nation. Throughout this video, we will explore how the 1965 Roosevelt Dime impacted collectors, why some of these dimes are now worth significantly more than face value, and what varieties, errors, and historical insights lie hidden beneath the surface of this seemingly common coin. We will examine auction records, professional grading scales, mintage data, and collector trends to uncover how this modest 10-cent piece fits into the greater narrative of American monetary history and what lessons it still holds for us today. So grab your coin folders, magnifiers, and curiosity as we take a deep dive into one of the most transitional pieces in U.S. coinage history, the 1965 Roosevelt Dime, here on LC Coins World, where history, value, and discovery come together in every episode.